Welcome to our very first episode of the Flyer Podcast. I'm Nicole Wanta, and I'm here with David Ridderhoff and Scott Turek. We're going to be talking about the latest trends in sports and also throwing in our own opinions on the latest sports news. To start, we're going to talk about the devastation in Chicago. Guys, fill me in.
I mean, I don't know how to start. I mean, it was probably one of the worst just nights in injury news Chicago's ever had, ever.
That was brutal. My goodness.
So, to fill you in, last night, Derrick Rose has a medial tear in his meniscus that may be a season ender, but we'll have to see about that. And Patrick Kane broke his clavicle. He's going to be out confirmed today, 12 weeks. So
that's a lot of weeks, especially at the point of the season that we're in with Patrick Kane. I mean, we're looking at the playoffs. I mean, the playoffs are here. I mean, I honestly, in my opinion, that's it. No more Blackhawks Stanley Cup run. He's the only player that's been playing anywhere near the level of a Stanley Cup contender. He's the only person who's been at a level where they can depend on him in the playoffs to win games for them and get them to the next round.
I mean, as you discussed, he's playing at an MVP type level. He's leading the NHL in points. To lose that, it's obviously a huge blow for the Blackhawks. But the way I see it, I think the Blackhawks, there's so much talent on that team that I think they can push through. I don't know how deep they'll get into the playoffs, and it really depends. It's 12 weeks now. That puts them smack dab in the middle of the playoff run, maybe probably second or third round by the time Patrick Kane comes back. Now, if he comes back at that time, that could be the last little spark that the Blackhawks do need, and that might be able to push them through, but it's really going to depend on the players of Sharp, Taves, Hossa. You need all your players to step up to get there and try to just keep the ship going until your star player comes back.
And, with that being said, I mean, when it comes down to Derrick Rose, we don't know the timetable for his return yet. You have to think that, in fact, he's already had 2 huge injuries on his knees. Major. You got to think that's probably the end of his season. That's what I'm thinking right now. I don't want to. There's no confirmation. That's a different story for a different day. No.
That's a completely different topic. But the thing about Rose's injury, and I mean, I've initial reaction is, oh, not again. This time the injury, they said the tear, from what the MRI, it's not as serious as the last one that he suffered last year in November that ended his season. And there is a good chance that when they go in through arthroscopic surgery, that it won't be as bad. They can just kind of cut off the part that's torn, and he could be back in 3 to 6 weeks. It's very similar to the injury sustained by Russell Westbrook. And I know you're already going to say, I already know you're going to say that Derrick Rose and Russell Westbrook are 2 very different players.
They are.
But the human body is the human body.
Yes.
Right.
So I think I would say that there is a small chance, not much, but a small chance he could be back by playoff time.
And the thing is, I think with the Bulls, regardless of whether or not he does come back this year, he's not going to be the same level, obviously, that he was MVP, which was already the case, but now it's going to be even worse than it was before. I think that really that's the final nail in the Bulls' coffin, because they were middle and off. They were the 4th seed before. They were a team that maybe could make a playoff run if they got lucky. When it comes down to it, they just don't have, with the way the players are playing this year, they're just not talented enough to make a finals run without a really good point guard. Kirk Heinrich, Aaron Brooks, and whoever they maybe sign as a replacement. If worse comes to worse, I already know what you're going to say. You're going to say Nate Robinson's name.
I'm going to say Earl Boynton.
I still think they should sign Jamario Moon if made small forward.
No, but again, I'm thinking long term. If you look at both teams, both of these injuries for both teams is devastating. I think the Blackhawks one right now is a little more devastating than the Bulls, because the Bulls have made that lineup. It's going to force Thibodeau to start using McDermott. He's going to have to start using that bench. Then I think so. This may be a blessing in disguise for the Bulls.
Maybe.
But in the long term, I think it's more devastating, because now it's pretty obvious Derrick Rose is going to be injury prone his entire career for the rest of the way. I think he's another, maybe Tracy McGrady, Brandon Roy, one of those guys where it's just like you saw that moment of brilliance that was 2011 when he got the MVP, and you have to just appreciate the time that he was great, but I think right now, it's time to just kind of accept, unless he really works on that jump shot of his, that's a whole nother topic. I can spend an hour talking about that jump shot, but I think for now, I think the injuries for Patrick Kane's a little more devastating, but long term.
And I think my favorite comparison I've heard so far for Derrick Rose is, this is going to bring a lot of pain to me, I know, Mark Pryor.
Kerry Wood and Mark Pryor somewhere.
Kerry Wood and Mark Pryor.
Somewhere
I think,
just there. I feel you, Rose.
Yeah, unfortunately. It's sad, but, I mean, that's kind of what it looks like right now.
Okay, with that, guys, let's roll into talking about the NBA trade deadline. We have Garnett. He is back with the Timberwolves. Is he following the LeBron?
Well, that's what he said he was going to do.
Yes.
That's what he said he was going to try to do.
Okay,
but,
okay.
You know, I think the difference is Kevin Garnett is at the end of his career.
Oh,
There is
very end of his career.
I mean, he is beyond the days of when he won the MVP in 2004. Those days are long gone. Kevin Garnett is a journeyman now. And I think it's a great story that he is getting to go back home and he can mentor the young players in Minnesota, like Andrew Wiggins, Zach LaVine. I think that'll be key to their success for their career because that's going to really bring up their defensive game. When you think of Kevin Garnett, the past few years is just his intensity on the court and how he plays defense. And I think that'll be great for this young Minnesota team.
I've already heard rumors that literally every single player in the locker room is already intimidated by him. He's already intimidating everybody. Like, that's Kevin Garnett. That's him. He brings intensity and passion. And you know what? This is the best move I think Minnesota could have made at this trade deadline because it's going to put fans in the seats.
Yeah.
The younger fathers, the 25-year-old people, the 30-year-old people with like 5, 6-year-old sons, they're going to say, you know what? When I first started rooting for the Timberwolves, this was the guy I went out and watched. Now I'm going to be able to bring the guy that I watch. People are going to go to those games. I mean, I know that we were in Minneapolis for our newspaper convention where we took second place. We went to a Minnesota Timberwolves game. I tweeted to the team and just asked if they had any seat upgrades. We were 3 rows from the floor because those seats were open. There was nobody in those seats. Why at any NBA game is there seats 4 rows from the floor open? That should not be the case.
Yeah, but I mean, when you look at also, I mean, a lot of people like to look at the sentimentality of Garnett going back home, but a couple of the other moves at the NBA deadline were pretty major.
Oh, they were.
I think the biggest one for me, I think the moves that the Miami Heat made, picking up Dragic.
If Chris Bosh didn't find the blood clots in his lungs, which is great by the way, they found it.
I mean, yeah, that's
great. I mean, now it could save his life. If that didn't happen, I would probably say they'd be the favorites in the Eastern Conference right now.
And you know what? Even though they don't have Bosh, I don't think there's a single team in the East right now that wants to play the Heat.
The Heat gave up 3 first-round picks for him. What are they thinking?
Well, at the time, Pat Riley, he's still angry about everything that happened with LeBron, and he is in a win now mentality. And you know what? If it wasn't for Bosh, that's a solid team. I mean, he's got incredibly lucky with the play of Hassan Whiteside coming out of nowhere. That guy's a monster. Oh. And you look at that, and you keep your starting 5 out there. You got Dragic out there. You have Wade. You have Bosh, Whiteside. That is a formidable 5-man starting lineup out there.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, I totally agree that there's not a team that's going to look at their schedule and say, oh, good, we get the Heat first round. No matter where they're at. They're the 7th seed. Whoever's at the 2 seed is going to sit there and say, oh, no, we got Miami walking into our arena. You can't stop Wade and Dragic if they have 2 or 3 other guys with them. And, Dan Gilbert sent that letter out saying that he was going to win a title before LeBron did. Pat Riley has a chance to win a title before LeBron does in Cleveland. They have legitimate chances here, I think, still without Bosh.
As I'm looking at it, I think there's now with the injury to Rose, I think it's a 2-team race between Atlanta and Cleveland right now. I like Washington, but they're in a slump right now.
Oh, they are in a big slump right now.
And they can pull out of it, but I don't know what's going to happen with that. But I think it's a 2-team race, and I'm waiting for Atlanta to kind of just slump into it.
I don't think they will.
I mean, they're a team that lives and dies by the 3, and in playoff basketball, that doesn't work. So I think the road is kind of set right now for Cleveland to take the East. It's kind of all set up and ready for them. That's another topic for another day. But but a lot of the trades that were made I think the big winners from this one is the Heat because they got their point guard of the future, better than Mario Chalmers. I like Chalmers as much as the next guy. He's hit some big shots in his career. And I like Norris Cole too, but
you don't. He's not even on the Heat anymore, is he?
He used to be. I liked him.
Oh, okay. No, I mean honestly, I think the big winners of the trade deadline, I think it's the Milwaukee Bucks. They got rid of Brandon Knight.
They got rid of Knight.
All-star guy. They got Michael Carter Williams for him. Rookie of the Year last year. Has he fallen off that much already to where he's not worth Brandon Knight?
No, you can forget about him when he plays out with the 76ers.
Exactly, and then you bring in Plumlee. He's not great. He's the lesser of the 2 Plumlees, obviously, but he's still a good player. And I honestly look at Ennis and I see a guy who could fit in with the Bucks because they do need a guy who can, I don't want to say volume shooter, but a guy who can shoot. If you give him enough shots, he'll score. Ennis will score points for you if you give him enough shots. I think the Bucks really built for the future with that one very well. They got rid of an all-star for a guy who could be an all-star. I still don't understand why the 76ers got rid of him, to be honest.
76ers are a complete rebuild mode right now.
That team is something
that's the big thing for them right now. It's just they're just kind of, let's start over, let's get everything right. And I think that was the big move for that. But I like the point about the Bucks, but I think in the end, I mean, the Bucks, I think, are in a win in a couple of years mentality, where I think in a couple of years, you got to watch out for Milwaukee.
Oh, yeah.
But right now, I think the Heat, even without Bosh, I think they have they kind of the three-headed lineup right now of Whiteside, Wade, and Dragic. You know, Whiteside, I know he's young. It's a lot of expectations on him, but sometimes when you're so young, you don't realize the moment that you're in and just kind of succeed.
I kind of love the fact that you're saying the Atlanta Hawks are going to drop off, but you don't know whether Hassan Whiteside will drop off or not. If either of those two are dropping off, it's Whiteside.
I guess in a couple of weeks, we'll have to see who's right.
We will.
Okay, guys, we're switching gears. We're going to talk about Major League Baseball opening days in less than 50 days.
I know you're excited about that.
I'm so excited. April 6th, first pitch at 8 p.m. Again, it's the Cardinals and
the Cubs.
It's the Cardinals and the Cubs.
Yeah, at Wrigley. This is a big game.
Lester against Wainwright.
And you know what? That's the day when I'll start getting excited for baseball.
Why?
Okay. Why would I care right now? It's spring training.
When's the most appropriate time for you? When do you get excited for baseball?
I get excited as soon as pitchers and catchers report. And especially because I know summer's coming.
Right.
Everything's getting ready. It's like we're getting close. We made it through winter. We're through the dog days of kind of the NBA and NHL seasons. I know when you get in there, everything kind of turns around. When pitchers and catchers report, you get into like the best part of sports.
The best.
I think from like
David, the best.
Not the best. How is it the best?
Because
how is watching people train the best? I want to see games. When I see a game starting, that's when I get excited for baseball.
The game's starting in a couple of weeks. Spring training, man.
Yeah, who cares about spring training?
That's when you
Split
get
squad scrimmages?
That's when you get
excited?
to see I mean, you as a Cubs fan should be so excited for spring training.
No.
Do you get to see all these players that we've only get to hear about? We haven't seen Chris Bryant in a Cubs uniform other than spring training. We get to see that. We get to see Almora up. I mean, I'm speaking just for the Cubs right now. You get to see all the prospects that you get to look forward to in one setting, and you get to see kind of what the team is going to shape up to look like. Obviously, it's not competitive. It's not going to count to anything.
Exactly. It doesn't count for anything. So who cares? If the top 5 prospects go out for the Cubs and hit 85 home runs apiece, who cares? It all gets reset to 0. 0 wins, 0 losses. When it's 0 wins, 0 losses, every team has a chance from there.
Obviously, it doesn't count, but you can still get excited for it.
It's fake baseball.
Because when April rolls around, that's when summer starts. That's why I always say the time from like March till around June, I think is my favorite time of sports. That's when everything's rolling except football. But football's another topic. I like the football separate. But that's when like all the action is. You're in the heat of both NHL and NBA. They're in their playoffs, and you get baseball starting up. That's when everything's happening. That's some of the best times. And I think for baseball, that's when everything starts. And baseball's such a long run, 162 games. You got to get excited. It's when everything starts happening.
I can't. I just don't get excited for fake baseball that's going to be gone. And congratulations, you hit a home run today. And tomorrow you're going to be cut. So who cares? I don't get what the big deal is about spring training.
So you're telling me that when you're going to get excited, probably around April 5th.
April 5th. The second I wake up on April 5th, I'm going to look at the calendar. I'm going to say, oh my goodness, tomorrow is opening day.
Lester and Wainwright.
Well,
on Sunday Night Baseball started off.
But Adam Wainwright got sent back to St. Louis. I don't know what's going on with him. Hopefully everything's okay. Because even though they're a rival of the Cubs, a team that I root for, I don't want anybody to get injured.
The only team you can't root for is Milwaukee.
They don't even have any good players on that team, do they?
According to Sports Nation, they're coming in second. They're voting the Brewers to be the second.
Behind the Cubs, right?
No, it goes the Braves, the Brewers, and the Cardinals. The top, yes, that's what they said.
The Braves are awful. I will tell you that right now.
Well,
they got rid of their best player.
That's what they said. I'm just
where his best player is
Sports
playing?
Nation.
San Diego.
Oh, I thought he went to the Cardinals.
Well, Jason Hayward went to the Cardinals, but Justin Upton went west to San Diego.
Yeah.
Do the Brewers even have any good players this year?
Yes, they do.
Who?
Carlos Gomez.
He's okay.
Carlos Gomez is amazing.